public hearing. No old items of discussion I'm aware of. New items of discussion, I would like to talk about a quote from Motorola, and Cam would like to talk about paper recycling. You want to go first, Cam?
Sure.
Or did you have anything you want to bring up? Oh, recycling, the recycling one? Is that it?
And
Coming up,
that's,
right?
yes,
What are you talking about that? Great.
I forget the date, though, 13th.
Yeah. I can't remember the date either. They just had an article about it on the paper, so.
Where? Well, yeah.
Commissioner Eggleston had, we were talking about how to recycle our paper within the courthouse. And I was very shocked to find out that nobody recycles paper for businesses in Warren County. Advanced, you just put it in the trash, they don't recycle it. And same way with Fitch. So I had found a company that headquarters out of Michigan, but they have locations in New York and one in Pittsburgh. And it is free to the county. The dumpster is no bigger than a regular trash dumpster. And they'll take newspapers, magazines, cardboard, books, envelopes, anything that you would put in your trash can, you know, except for garbage. And also our shredded paper that comes out of our shredder, and we just tie that bag up, throw it in the dumpster. And then arrange for them to, you know, pick up the dumpster every week, every 2 weeks, however, you know, whatever our cycle is that we're filling it up. And there is no cost to the county. In fact, they pay $25 for every ton.
Okay. This is newspapers, magazines, office and school papers, books, junk mail, envelopes, folders, copy paper, colored paper, shredded paper, phone books, cardboard.
Yes.
It's important to know that Pam contacted Ms. Mortensen, right?
I tried, and he never called me back.
And we've had no response on multiple times. So we're not aware of any other paper recycling in the county. Obviously, Advance has a contract with the city to do curbside pickup for residents.
Because that is state law.
Because of state law, there is no commercial paper pickup. So yeah, so this seems to me to be a no-brainer. Oddly. I mean, basically what would happen, is that we would have bins in the courthouse where everybody would dump their paper into it, and then that would be collected and thrown into the recycling bins.
Okay. Are we concerned at all about people dumping non-paper products in it?
Well, from my perspective, this would only be for the offices.
This would be for our courthouse.
Yeah, so basically the bins would be inside the offices for the office paper that we generate. Unlike magazines and newspapers and stuff like that, but it wouldn't be for the public. It would be, so the courthouse recycles its paper.
And Matt and I had talked about either putting it over in this corner and moving the outhouse in a couple of parking spots, or we could put it in this corner so that they can just back up and dump it. And we've also talked about putting a lock on it.
You could put it in the warehouse.
Yeah, well, that's what he was saying. We could put it in the warehouse and put a lock on it so that people driving by don't see a recycling bin and go to throw their garbage in there. And then either, Matt or Randy, then would pick up the bins every morning and take them down, dump them, lock it back up. And then when we know they're coming, then we can remove the lock so that they can just dump it in the trunk. So we wouldn't even have to have it here. We could put it at the warehouse.
Is there a certain amount that you have to hold until they come pick it up?
No, we would hold it till it was full.
So just that one dumpster, when it's full, then you
We would call them, so then we could have them bring another dumpster so that it's like every 2 weeks we know we're gonna have 2 full ones. But rather than, until we realize how much, and people get into the habit of
Well, if
putting,
there's a certain limit, they won't come until you get too
no,
big.
they'll come when we call.
Okay. Then with a shredder, we put it in plastic bags, and we put that plastic bag into that bin, or is it
Yep.
dumped?
No, we just tie the bag up just like they are in the hallway, and they throw them in the bin. And it's nice that they'll take the cardboard too.
Yeah,
And it is white paper too, right? Not just certain.
yeah.
Pretty much anything that you would throw in your trash can
Yeah.
would go into these bins, and the only thing that would go in your trash can would be your trash.
What about the envelopes of the windows? They
Nope.
carry those out, or?
No, they will, they'll take those too.
Really?
Because I worked up an email so that, like after today's meeting, and once I know when the bin is coming, and we get our bins ordered, because we'll need to decide how many we actually need, then, we'll send that list in with,
I think
and
that,
asking everybody to please comply.
yeah, well, I think that the only thing that we need to talk about is perhaps purchasing some bins, like some small bins, like box size, plastic bins to put, like one over in your office, one in our office, one registered reporter, treasurer, all the offices, so that they have a bin that they drop their paper in, and then have the cleaning crew taking that out and dumping it into wherever it needs to go. Does that make sense? Or, my
Well, no, because if we put the big dumpster at the warehouse,
yeah,
Matt would load all the bins up into the truck, and then,
yeah, however you want to do it. My thing was just to have bins in the offices so that when they get done with their paper, they throw it right in the bin,
Yeah.
and then that gets consolidated.
now we could get a couple of the bins on wheels like we do for the,
We could do that, yeah.
and then he could dump them in there and then just take those down to the warehouse. He could roll those office to office.
Well, either way, it sounds like there's unanimity amongst the board to pursue this and manage it however you see fit, right?
Absolutely.
Will there be one at the state hospital perhaps too, been out there?
That might be something to discuss, is have them put one out there, because they have more, the only issue with that is we'll have to contact the state hospital, make sure they're okay with us putting a bin out there, because they have plenty of space in that parking lot next to
Well,
the.
the nice part about it though is if Human Services called and got their own bin, that would be the start of them having a larger area to, come up with, because they don't have anybody in Warren County right now.
Mhm.
So you figure, if it works for us, then,
I know the larger businesses definitely have somebody they're recycling with, I don't know who, because at least, I know Blair does, just from having worked there, that they have bins where you don't, at least that's my memory. Maybe I'm thinking about it someplace else. But anyway, can you, we'll get started here, and then we'll have a conversation with Human Services about how they can potentially do it. Because we generate, if you go into that trash bin, I'm willing to bet that on most days when I look in there, most of it's paper, like there's junk in it. And my thing is if we can get them not throwing it in there so that we have fewer loads, and see maybe if we can reduce our garbage cost. Like that would, what I mean? I can just put it in the recycling bin where we get $25 per ton.
yeah, because you could, have one, two at the jail and the sheriff's office, and have Rusty take them and,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I guess that's what, I'm saying is we have to come up with some kind of process so that everybody on the courthouse grounds is recycling their paper.
And you don't figure that out here today, though.
No.
Great. So the recycle-a-thon, speaking of recycling, is soon, right?
I think it's the 13th, I think Pam's right.
I just don't remember the location.
This one's in, let's see, the first one was in Sheffield, this one I think is in Youngsville, and then the third one's up at Russell, at the school district building. So,
Very good. So Motorola, what you'll see here is a quote that was generated in April and sent to the commissioners, and we did not pay attention to it apparently. And it expires July 8th. Forwarded us from Ken McCorris, and it is for 8 additional portable radios for the Motorola project handhelds. I'm sorry. Yes, that is what this is from. As well as it looks like DVRS activation and such. So the motivation behind this, I believe, was we left out a couple of important agencies when we came up with the original list of things that we purchased from Motorola. So we have, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 radios currently over at 911 Center being programmed and getting pushed out into the field. And one agency that I believe, at least one agency that did not get any was Emerging Care. I believe the justification at the time, what we had said was that they're a paid agency, so but they pushed back and said they're a nonprofit, now unable to communicate, and so they're asking that we get them bare minimum number of radios. So much like the fire departments, we're not replacing one for one what they have, but they are requesting that each of their ambulances have a radio. So I'm not sure what we want to do about it.
I'm pretty sure I looked at that before.
Yeah. It's like 15 grand. Yeah, give it here back or two, right?
Yeah.
But,
We had to get back or two.
yeah, and you had it out, so I'm looking at yours.
Anyway, I believe the sheriff's office is going for another grant. Well, the sheriff's office and public safety are doing a combined grant for more radios as well, just for our own purposes, among other things. So perhaps we could try to lump this in with that grant.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should do whatever we can to find funding sources so that we don't have to pull from the general fund. I have no problem, I don't have a personal problem with using contingency
Just
to
in the interim.
take care of it.
Alright, so why don't we just get it going, take care of it, and try to, but frankly, what I was gonna do is go after the same grant that we went after last year and won, the $150,000 from USDA.
Yeah.
So that's what we'd like to pursue again. So why don't I go ahead and say, yes, we're gonna cover this, and then we'll lump it in with the USDA grant. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
So, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is, or at least start a conversation about is the warehouse. Just because we're getting at the point now where we're starting to put plans together for recycling. There's some things that I've, generally have talked about putting together the plan so that with the launch in the spring of next year, but there are some things that I think that we can do before that as a part of an initial plan to get this thing up and running, sooner. I went and toured the facility again with Matt to talk about everything related to it. Part of the conversation was about the rehab on the roof and everything because of the damage from the tornado and some of that. But basically what I'd like to do is, as a part of this recycling plan, is to come up with a comprehensive plan for the warehouse that we can sign off on and say that this is the policy going forward. Obviously, like your input and you know, the other department's input's important so that we cover all of our bases. But because right now, a good chunk of that building is, I don't want to say a dumping ground, but like
Pretty much.
there hasn't been like a plan for it, and now, you know, going through it, there's a lot of wasted space, and then when you start talking about, okay, this is where we're going to put materials, we're going to collect electronics, we're going to collect tires, we're going to collect some of these other things, distribution, it gets really hairy in there. Because it's a big building, there's lots of space, but there's not enough for, I think, everything that we want to do. So what I wanted to do was have a conversation about potentially, or having the property surveyed, like, and having a map of the building created with space, and as a starting point to talk about how we're going to divide the space up in the building. You don't have to do it that way. The other way we could do it, I talked about with Matt, was just going up there and actually manually measuring everything ourselves. My only thing is that if potentially down the road there are edits made to the building, you know, doors added, doors removed.
Rather have that basis.
I'd rather have it, and I don't think that it would cost that much to have the property surveyed. You know, I haven't gotten quotes, but I wanted to talk to you about it first before I even went out and did that.
Yeah, but once you get a quote on it, I mean, obviously, this is going to just do a draft ourselves, but, yeah.
So, the one thing that I did want to talk to you about, and I wanted to, before I spend too much time on this, is the idea of creating record storage space in that building that's more professional and usable than what we have.
Temperature control at least, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that the way I looked at it, Matt and I looked at different spots, and we like Matt and I we pitched different things. Like one of the things Matt talked about was using that front bay where the car wash is now, and then sectioning off the back end and everything. I don't think that that's a terrible idea. My only issue with it is that part of the roof is pretty dodgy, and we have to replace the roof there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that unless we absolutely have to, just because, with a lot of the stuff that I would be doing with the recycling bit and the car wash, there's not a need for it to be airtight, water-wise. If it's a bit damp, I don't have a problem with that. On the other end of the building, where all of the bays are, where like right now the sheriff has a couple of vehicles and there's some other stuff. To me, what I wanted to do was try to figure out a way to come up with a price of like walling that off in there and then having it raised off the floor like a foot, and then having a humidifier put in, and then just like a simple electric access where we have like a couple of lights in it, and then have it just drywall, we don't even have to paint it, in my opinion, but just so that it's at least separated, like it's a box separated from the building's walls and any of the moisture that's on the extremities. Because one of the challenges you have with that building is on the back side there's a trench that runs along it that collects water right under the wall, and so that entire wall is moist all the way back, even to where we have the records now. So I think we can do it. I think we can do it on the cheap. I think, especially if we reutilize timber from the other, like use wood from where the fences and everything are now. Just take all of that out and then use that for part of it, and then the rest purchase it. What I talked to Matt about potentially doing was just hiring a couple of carpenters part-time for the summer and have them work on that and a couple other projects. And then they work for the county, we don't have to bid out the project, you know, or something like along those lines. So they can do that work and then whatever else we identify, but, you know, have it be, you know, like a 2 or 3 week project and just have them build the thing, you know. And, you know, if it costs 10 grand to build, I'm fine with that. And the only reason I say that is you know, we've gone around 100 different ways to try to do record storage. And, you know, even when we look at the lease agreements, the cheap ones, you're talking $10,000 to $12,000 a year to lease a space.
Right.
You know, we might as well just build it out there and then have it. And the whole idea would be have this box built in on the end there, and then literally have a man door attached to the outside of the wall, and just have a door and you walk right into that space, and then that way we can give access to everybody who needs a director level. They just drive up there and they can walk into it. Because the other issue that we have is most of those records are never accessed. I mean, they're accessed maybe once a year, so it's like there's no, you know, that's the other reason to try to, you know. My other point with it is if we move everything to, was to turn Pam loose on it and basically put her in charge of basically weeding through all of those records and saying, and getting everybody to give a hard yes or no as to whether they need to keep them or not, and or destroy them, because there's a lot of stuff there that in my opinion needs to be demoed, but it's, but everybody just keeps just throwing it out there. So I guess what I'm asking is you know, if we could put together a plan for that, I mean, does that sound like something you're interested in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other thing I would add is that I was looking at those pods, so then we could just build on them as needed, bring a pod and put it on a forklift, and they're stackable.
Yeah.
The problem is we couldn't find a very cheap way to do it.
Yeah. Well, the pods cost a little bit, which is fine. My big thing is that I don't feel like it fixes the utilization of the space in the building, because there's lots of space in that building, but it's like, you know, there's just stuff everywhere. If you got half the stuff out of there, we'd have more than enough record storage space. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like we'd just be adding more storage space outside the building because we're having a difficult time.
Actually, there's still plenty of them inside where you're talking.
Yeah.
The idea being that you got one of those little 12-foot pods, and then if you don't need it in the future, sell it. So you can increase and decrease as needed.
I see. So you're thinking about stackable pods, and how do you get it if they're stackable? How do you get on the second level?
We have a forklift there.
No, I mean a person.
Oh, you would have to pull it out. But again, to your point, the frequency with which those are accessed is pretty insignificant. Plus, remember, we have a 12-ton crane here.
We do.
Yes, we do.
How much did it cost?
Get us all price on those?
I would have to look, I got a couple of prices, and it depends on whether you go new or used or.
Yeah, obviously, we never used.
So pods that can stack. Okay, I can look into that too. I don't have a problem with pods. I like pods.
Okay.
Modular, that's the way I like things. So, I mean, that would be, if that seems like affordable, and it can take up the space, and we could put shelving units in it, and then organize it properly, then that would work too. I don't see why that wouldn't work.
Okay. Great. Anything else? Planning schedule-wise?
No, I'm setting up meetings with, I'm setting up a meeting with Lawrence County. It's going to be at the end of the month. Where we're going to all go down and visit the RDA and their land bank crew and their planning zoning department to talk about land banks and stuff.
Good.
I've got several really good leads on electronics recycling So Dan and I will probably run up, they're mostly upstate New York, but we'll be running around doing that. Because I want to get, that's one of the things that I want to try to get moving on with the recycling bit of the warehouse is electronics, tires, and a couple other things that we're doing.
Those are probably going to be your most helpful.
Yeah. They're really good.
Okay. I wouldn't think it'd be hard to get that started. All right.
First town hall is next week,
Oh, it is?
July 11th.
July 11th. I don't have my schedule yet, or my personal calendar.
Pine Grove.
All right. Another thing to note on my schedule is Friday afternoon, I'm going to take off a little canoeing.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, I do have that time on my schedule. That's about it for this week. Obviously, I will not be working on Friday.
Yeah, and I'll be out on Friday, so.
Okay, that reminds me, we should do a proclamation next year for the Independence Day. Photograph. Do it for most other holidays. Okay, department updates?
I had a third copy, but Pam too. So this is the repository sale listing. On the front page, you'll see all the old properties that we have priced at $250. And if you go to the second page, you'll see unsold properties from our 2018 judicial sale. The minimum bids are listed, and then you have your unsold properties from this year's judicial sale. Minimum bids listed. What I want to do for the judicial sale properties from last year is lower the minimum bid to 500, but then keep the new ones at the cost that we've approved. So we're getting into this tier system now where
Yeah.
we have 1 year that has the minimum bids of the cost.
Right.
Previous year would be $500, and anything older than that would be at $250.
Got it.
I debated whether having the older ones lower a bit, but they want to wait another year and see how it goes with this.
Right.
Sound good to you?
Does. Man, there's a lot of old homes in the market.
Yeah, I think a few of those will be coming off, but I just had an email from the assessment. I think some of them are abandoned. I don't know, we can get some of this taken care of. That's all I have.
Got the 30s on, right?
I'll try to get this list uploaded today or tomorrow. A lot of people are calling and emailing about these properties, wondering when they're going to be on the list. Once in the judicial sale issues.
So this year's is the front page, right?
No, this year's judicial sale,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's on that citation.
This is the current
Yep.
cost for everything.
Yep.
So,
So what I do is lower the one from last year down to $500.
sure.
So
Yeah.
it's been a year, so.
Yeah. Makes sense?
All these tiny parcels on here.
Yeah.
And you would think that the neighbors would scarf them up, but they're gonna wait till they go on repository and get them for,
Yeah. Let's see. That's all I got.
Okay. Very well. There's no other discussion, I guess we will adjourn.